It's that time again for another Emma Tries video. And today we are looking at Coassemble. And Coassemble was actually recommended for me to try. So I'm quite excited to get sort of into this and have a look, really. Now, to the best of my knowledge, it is kind of like a mix between an LMS and an authoring tool. So it has an inbuilt kind of content creator authoring tool. And you've also got the options to kind of share and track completion with your courses. You can share them across social platforms, or you can sort of export them and embed into your own tools like your website and things like that. They've also, like every single authoring tool out there at the moment, they've got their own AI function as well. So you can transform documents and PowerPoints into courses. And of course I'm going to be trying this because I still very much have mixed feelings about this kind of functionality and the outputs that it produces. So we will definitely have a look at that. And if I just scroll down here, you can see, like I was just saying, you can sort of share your courses to wherever suits you. You can also track your kind of learners' completion, the time they spent on the courses, all of that kind of thing. So that's where we kind of see that sort of LMS input there as well. What I really like about this is that it's free forever. So that's really cool. You never have to pay for this if you don't want. And you can see from the free plan, you get unlimited course creation, unlimited AI tools, and unlimited learner views. So that is quite rare for a kind of free starter plan, really. I think there's been a bit of a typo with their website here. I'm not sure how much that would be a month, but with the team one, you obviously get more access for other creators. So if you're in an L&D team, then you can have multiple people working within Coassemble. And then obviously there's an enterprise one, which is for the super big companies that would be using this as their main sort of platform for everything, really. So let's jump into the authoring tool and see kind of how it shapes up and whether it does what it says it's going to do. Okay, so here we are in the kind of workspace, and this is where your courses will sit. So again, kind of like with a lot of the authoring tools that I've sort of looked at over the past 6 months, it's a really nice, clean, sort of white, empty space. I've seen a lot of authoring tools going down this kind of very similar structure in terms of showing your courses and everything, and I really like it. It's super easy to kind of see what you're working on and where you've got kind of things in progress. So you've got the options up here to transform a document and generate using a prompt, and that's kind of that AI functionality coming into play there. And I will try that at the end. So we'll go through the kind of course builder as kind of something that you create yourself first, and then we'll have a look at the AI functionality. So up here we can see the button to create a new course, and the little ghost here is adorable. And if I click the drop down one, it gives us the same options, but we're going to start from scratch today. And we can see it just very, very quickly flashed up there. There was a little tile for my new course. So looking at it like this, it is giving kind of very similar vibes to things like Captivate and Parta as well, in terms of we've got this kind of screen nature about it. And I'm going to assume, which I will fact check myself in a minute, that this is kind of like on a screen by screen basis that a person would interact with it. So if anybody's ever created a microlearning on Rise, you've got two navigation options. You've got stepped and continuous, and the stepped option is very much like this. You have screen, they click an arrow to go down, screen, screen, and it's not as fluid as a scrolling option. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. I've seen plenty of courses built in this way that are still fantastic. So let's have a look at what we can do here. So we've got layout options here, where we can have no image, an image to the left, an image to the right, or an image behind. Very nice. And we can change our background image here. Design. So I'm going to guess this is the theming options. Okay, yeah, I'm right. So it's given us a default one, but let's have a look at how we can customize it. So we've got fonts, Poppins. I'm going to keep it as Poppins because I love a bit of Poppins. Colors. We've got buttons, titles, background, And then start and finish screens, we've got the same, the buttons there. We have to upgrade our plan to add a logo, but that's not too much of a problem today because I won't be adding mine anyway. So that's not applicable to us. So very, very simple theming options here. Nothing too crazy. I mean, it's enough to get us started. I like that you can change the kind of font color throughout so that you don't have to keep doing it. And you can change the color of the buttons. Again, something that's just kind of pre-done for you, which is quite nice. Image library, again, you can upload your own stuff there so that you've got access to it. So that's great if you've got, say, a brand kind of image library. You could upload it all here, and then you wouldn't have to keep uploading things as you're kind of working through building your course. So theming's not the best, but there is something. So it's a good start. At least we can change colors, we can do something. And it may or may not be a huge problem. We will see as we kind of get through this. So we've also got 3 little buttons here on the right hand side of the interface, and we've got a display options, text alignment, and background color. So background color is pretty obvious, to be honest. You just click it. I mean, if I didn't have this image as well, I would imagine it would be like a solid color. But you can see we can change this pattern. You can also reset it. We've got text alignment, so right, left, or center, but we'll just go for center, and display options. So this is kind of the functions that are on the screen by the looks of it. So we need to have a title. It won't let us uncheck that, but we can uncheck description, time estimate, button, and pattern. So that would turn that pattern in the background off. Okay, that's pretty cool. So let's just type in some info. 99 minutes. Oh no, 20 minutes. I don't know why it defaulted to that. Let's go for test, and let's go for example. Okay, and we've got a start course button, which back on those themings, you could change the color of that. As I've clicked on the text, we can see we've got some text options pop up here. So the option to set the hierarchy, which is super important for accessibility. What is this one? Okay, that's our text color. Oh, that's quite good. So you can change the text color as you go. So in terms of, again, accessibility, it's good to be able to do that because it gives you that little bit more flexibility in terms of like background colors and stuff. We've got AI functions as per usual, where it can make your content better. That's quite good in terms of like making things more sort of concise and maybe changing the tone. That's quite an interesting function, and I might test that out as well. So let's add another screen and see what kind of options it gives us in terms of like just building out slides. So we've got here text and image, video, a slideshow, so like a gallery of images, document, embedding a URL, accordion, process, flashcards, checklist, and hotspot. Okay, and obviously a quiz at the end as well. So these are fairly limited in terms of interactivity. Like, these aren't drop down. This is just all you get. So that's interesting. And I don't know how to take that yet, whether that's a kind of positive or negative, because more interactivity doesn't necessarily equal better e-learning. It can almost sometimes end up being a bit of a detractor in the sense that people just think, well, I'll just shove a load of content into a accordion or into this or that, and it just ends up that you are adding things for the sake of it. So it's not always a bad thing. I'm not going to mark it down for that just yet. So let's add a text and image. Start from scratch, please. Okay, so what customization options have we got here then? So if I click on this image, you can see that I can extend it. Fill, so that's kind of like the scale of the image within that bounding box. We've got fit, again, same concept, and reposition. So how do I reposition it then? Okay, so that again is the position. That's almost a crop tool pretty much. Let's go and extend image and see what it does. Oh, okay. Oh, I like that. That's quite nice. It's kind of filled the space. This kind of layout always gives me kind of like a magazine style kind of vibe to it. And I quite like it. It's quite a nice format. Can we shrink it back down again now? Where's the shrink button? Oh, gosh. Fill. There we go. We did it. It's all good. So a couple of options in terms of images, like the scale of images, not tons though. And reposition. Oh yeah, we know we've done that. That's just repositioning it. I don't think I can move it by clicking and dragging. I don't think that's going to be a thing for this authoring tool. Let's click on layout then. So we've got image right. We can change it to be image left, and of course image behind, which would be a full bleed image essentially. But for the purpose of this, let's go for image right. And we can see that it's changed the scale of the image again, which is interesting. Oh, okay, but it's brought up this little blue line. And that is how you change the ratio, I suppose, of the screen. And you can see it's working in this kind of rule of thirds. We've got two dotted lines, which splits the slide into 3 sections. So I really like this. This is great. Being able to drag the image up and down like this is so good. I wish we had this in something like Rise, because it really allows you to play with layouts. You can see though, it does snap. So if I let go of this, it's going to snap to those rule of thirds. So it'll be interesting to see if we can change that at all for it to be more fluid. But yeah, we'll have a look in a minute. But for now, let's keep it as a fairly small image in terms of like a narrow image. So text, same options as the header really. You can choose the alignment, you can add bullets. We've also got the option, what is this one here? Okay, you can add another image to your text box. I wonder how that would kind of come out. What's this one? A table. We can obviously, again, choose the text hierarchy, and we've got the color, and you can change the formatting in that sense as well. Is there an undo button? Because I want to get rid of that table. I'm not sure there is. Okay, that's fine. I just Control Z and got rid of it. So, okay, interesting. It's not tons to work with here. We can change kind of the background color as well. And what I'd be interested to know is if I could have a background image as well as an image on the screen. So if I maybe go to design, does that do anything? No. Let me see. Because at the moment it looks like you can only kind of have like one image per screen almost. And I know obviously having a full bleed image and then an image on top probably isn't the best in terms of like accessibility anyway, but it's kind of good sometimes to just have that extra option. But I don't think we can. I think it has to be done sort of via this format. Apologies for the beeping. I think that's my dishwasher telling me that it's finished doing what it needs to do. So if we click preview, this allows us to see how it will appear on screen. Obviously, this is a really bad example because I have not added any text to the slide. But we have the option of tablet and mobile view too. And then you navigate through the slides with these arrows. So I like that you get the different device views. That's always really handy with a responsive platform like this. And I think it does seem to scale down quite nicely, actually. Let's see if we can kind of go back a screen. Yeah, so it scales down quite nicely. And as I kind of said at the beginning, it is on this sort of almost like a book style navigation. So you go screen, screen, screen. It's not kind of a fluid scroll. Which again, it's not necessarily a negative of this at all. It's just an observation, and just to make people aware, it's that kind of authoring tool as opposed to a continuous scroll authoring tool. Again, I can't really see anything in terms of adding anything else to the background either. There's also not the option for a pattern for the background either. There is on the title page, but not on this page, which is interesting. Let's have a look at some of the other things then. We've got an accordion, start from scratch, where you can add multiple different buttons. Let's go test accordion, and we can obviously change the text within them, change the name of them, change all the font colors and everything. Oh, we get the option to change the icon style as well. That's quite nice. I like that. So we can have a plus, arrow, acronym. So if you wanted A, B, C, for example. And that, oh, okay. So no, that becomes based on your title. So if I put test, I imagine that's going to change to a T. If it was, you're going to let me? Yes. Yes, it will. Okay. Fair enough. And then we've got numbers as well. What happens if I click these then? Override color, duplicate, or delete. What's override color mean? Oh, okay, so you can change the color of the little icons or whatever you're going to choose for the accordion as well. So that's pretty good. And that's just overriding your theme color. So that's if you wanted something different than your theme color. We can also reorder the accordion items, and same functions as before. You can choose if you want a description to go with it, choose your background color, and add, and that is pretty much it. So it's actually very, very limited in terms of your ability to customize it. If I spelled that wrong, accordion. It's an O-N, is it? Okay, let's have a look what this looks like on preview. So on mobile, looks really nice actually. And I'm getting a bit of a vibe from this that you would design these courses for mobile, because on desktop, you've got a lot of space around here, and with these ones you can add an image as a background. So if I go back off preview mode a second and just sort of change this to be grey, or even go the opposite way, actually let's make it like a really dark blue and then give ourselves white text. Testy test test test. I should really get some filler text that I can just copy into these so that I don't have to keep writing the word text all over again. Test. So preview. So you can see that on desktop view, you've got a lot of blank, empty space. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. We don't want to overclutter our slides. We don't want to, add things for the sake of it. But if every single interaction has to be formatted in this way in terms of having a plain background, that could get quite boring quite quickly. Just from a visual design point of view, there's no option to just add anything like a repeat pattern on the back, just to maybe add that little bit of something extra. So you're not looking at coloured screen, coloured screen, coloured screen. Like, I do kind of wish there was the option to add a background image or just anything else to these kind of slides, because from looking at it, you don't get the option to add what I would call elements. So you don't drag blocks to this. It is one interaction per screen. And that's very similar to 7 Taps that I did a couple of videos ago, who works very similar, but they market themselves as a mobile friendly or mobile first, platform, whereas Coassemble doesn't. But I'm getting the kind of feeling that Coassemble is a mobile first platform. So I'm going to have a look at the flashcards as well, because I saw a preview of these on their website and I thought they looked really nice actually in terms of their design and how they scale down through the devices as well. So again, up here we've got the card. We can choose what we want to be on the card. So we can actually get rid of the background color and have them white. We can add an image to them. So that's good. I quite like that. And you can use this little drag bar to be able to change the scale of the image. We can also change the flashcard color by just dragging our sort of color picker here. And we can duplicate flashcards and delete them as well. So good options for this too. And if I flip it, again, you've got very similar options. You can add in text. I'm going to add an image in. Let's just do it via Unsplash and just see how that looks with the text. I'm not sure how that's going to fit. Okay, what do I do? Do I click that? Or do I just close it? Okay, just close it. Oh, okay, so then you would just type your text in like so. That's quite nice. You can't move this image once it's on. I think, is that a layout option? No, that's a caption. You can link as well, which is cool. And obviously, super important, you can add alt text. But but that's quite a nice option to be able to add an image to the back as well. So you could either have an image on the front, or you could choose to have one on the back as well. Cool. Okay, let's have a look at what this looks like on mobile view. So we've got question 1, and then we've got the answer. And I like that they've used it as an example of being like questions as well. These are really good for like reflective prompts, reflective prompts. And also I like to use flashcards for like character profiling as well. So you might have a name here, and then they flip it, and you could have an image of the character or the person, and then a little bit of information about them. So that could also work particularly for things like onboarding. So if you've got a team of say 4 senior leaders or whatever, you could have their job title, and then you could have an image on the back with a bio or something. So you can be quite creative with flashcards. Again, though, if we're looking at this on desktop view, this looks so bland. And now I sound like Gordon Ramsay, but it's so bland. You can't like do anything else with this huge amount of space surrounding this interaction. Let's have a look back again and just see again. Yeah, it doesn't really give me any options. I can reorder my flashcards. I can change my background color again, so I can have it that blue. And if I just go, let's just put a title on. I think it's doing it in blue text as well. It is. Let's just test. These, oh gosh, what are you doing? These are flashcards. Okay, let's just add another example so we're working with multiple ones and I can get a better picture for this. But if we go preview, we can see that kind of like I said with the accordion, you've just got a lot of empty space, and there's no option to edit this background aside from having a color. One thing I do like though is I really love the animations on this, the way that the flashcard shoots off the screen, and the kind of flip animation is really nice. And if we go down to tablet and mobile, you can see they look fantastic on mobile, really well sized. You still get to see that animation as well and the kind of flip. So like I kind of was saying, I think this is great if you are building mobile first e-learning and you are really not expecting anybody to access this on a desktop. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't look bad. Like, it doesn't look terrible on a desktop, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with having clear space. I mean, white space, said in quotations, is super important in visual design, because you need to let things breathe, and there's no point adding things just for the sake of it. But kind of like I said, even being able to have maybe like a wavy pattern on the back, or a gradient, or a very, very subtle repeat pattern that doesn't impact the accessibility of the course, just something to make it a little bit different from the slide that you were just on. Because if we then flipped, if it'll let us, yeah, so we've got like the accordion, and then we're on, and I click through all of these bits, and then we're on to almost an identical looking slide. So it just doesn't leave you much room to be super creative with the visual design of this. Let's have a look at some of the others. So we've got a hotspot function here, which is nice. I love a hotspot activity. And you can edit the descriptions. You can click, can you click and drag the hotspots? Yeah, so you can click and drag them around, change the icon style to be a number or a plus. And then obviously, again, you can add in your title, you can add in your text as well, your description if you want. Obviously, you can replace the image and edit it as well. You can also reorder the hotspots. So in terms of if there was anybody using any assistive technology on a desktop, the order in which it would kind of jump them to, or for example, via keyboard as well. I haven't actually tested if this is keyboard accessible, so let's have a go. Okay, I don't think it is keyboard accessible. Or maybe it is. It's just taking its time to get through there. No, I'm not sure it is keyboard accessible. Okay, so nice activity though. We get a nice inbuilt check there and a little animation. So really like that. Super subtle details, but just help enhance that overall kind of learner experience. Same kind of concept though. If let's replace this image with something from Unsplash again. Okay, so let's have a look at it down devices. So it scales pretty nicely. You can't really see it very well because this is a white background, but you can see that it has kind of shrunk it down essentially. Let me add a coloured background because that'll help kind of better explain my point. I chose a poor image there, didn't I? Let's go back for our dark blue background again here. So this one actually doesn't look too bad on desktop, I don't think. It fills the space quite nicely. But mobile, not the best. But hotspot activities never are on mobile. I've not come across an authoring tool yet that does like scales hotspot activities down nicely. It always just kind of looks a bit bad. But yeah, it would be nice to be able to see a mobile horizontal like landscape view, just because I would imagine this would kind of resize to fill the screen more if it was horizontal like landscape view. But I don't know. Having a look at this AI functionality. I don't have high hopes, just given the limited interactivity we've got here and the functionality. I have a feeling that the AI is just going to produce us a very glorified content dump. So we shall see. Okay, so we can have like a little gallery of images here that kind of goes through like a carousel essentially. And if I go down device views, again, I wish that this would prompt you to turn your phone because you've just got so much white space. I mean, let's add an actual title in that so that it looks a bit less kind of blank. If we go to display options and we go description, insert, oh, I cannot type, I'm leaving it, description here, and let's go to preview. So yeah, even with that little bit of text, it's still, you've got so much space on the top and the bottom. And again, this is where a little bit of visual design would help, being able to have just something else going on that makes this space not feel so vast. Because it does just feel like there is a lot of space. We've got the same thing here, display options. Okay, you can add like a caption per image. So that's quite useful. That could help bulk the space out a little bit. And I'm going to actually add an image under here and just see what happens. Obviously, you probably wouldn't want an image with the text and then an image gallery. That would be crazy. That's too much. But I just want to see kind of how that looks. So it kind of gives you like a little scroll bar, and then it kind of looks like this, and you can zoom in and everything. Which again, that could be useful, but you can't move that image. Like I can't move this around. It will move with the text, I would imagine. I can rescale it though, which is pretty cool. So I could have it really small if I wanted to. So you could potentially use this to add in things like icons if you were doing like a list. But by the looks of it, it's not going to let me type next to the image. It says inline left and inline right. So maybe if I go down and start typing, are you going to let me type there? What's this one? Align left, align center. It says inline, so in theory I should be able to, but it's not letting me, so I'm not sure why that is. Anyway, to delete it is really easy though. You just click the dustbin icon. And you can also add audio as well. So if you wanted these voiced over potentially, or if you wanted to add an audio file in to direct them to do something or introduce something, you could do that. So that's quite a nice touch. I'm not going to go through the rest because I think video is pretty obvious. It's going to look like the rest of them. Document just is like an attachment. An embed code would be interesting. I would imagine that would appear very similar. So for example, if I copied in a YouTube URL, I would imagine it will appear very similar to what a video here would. It would just be like a rectangular bounding box that would fill the space. We've also got checklist, which I think will be very similar to accordion, and process, which is similar, if not the same functionality as the gallery, except you've just got the option to put more text in there. So let's go to quiz and have a look at how this looks. So do we get any options of different types of questions, I wonder? So add question. Oh, we do. Yay, good. So multiple choice, multiple response, true or false, short answer, which I'm guessing is like a text entry style one. Fill in the blank, match corresponding, and match sequence. So not bad. Good start on this one. What have we got here? We've got start section, finish section. We can change the order of that. What have we got here? Quiz scoring. Okay, so this is where you set your passing grade, but we can't do that because we're on the free one, but that's fine. And then background color as well. I find it interesting that you can only have a pattern on this first page. I wonder why that is, because if I click here, where was the pattern option? Yeah, it was on the kind of like slide properties, I suppose. And it only gives you the option of that, like on that first page, which is interesting. I wonder why that is. But anyway. Okay, so that is pretty much most of the functionality I think we've covered here. Let's add a quick question just to see how that kind of looks. So we get the option to add in our answers, change obviously the text. We can delete them here and add different ones. We've got the option to reorder all of our questions once we've actually built this out as a proper quiz. Quiz scoring is still there. We've got background color, and we can down here, this is where you can see your quiz kind of build out. So if you click these little things, we can see start, question, and then congratulations. You can add these within, I believe, because if I turned off we go back to this one. If I turned off start and finish section, it would just have this as like a standalone question essentially. But this is kind of framed as being like an end of course quiz here. And we've got the option for feedback message as well. So you can choose your response, and you can also edit these little animated smiley faces as well. And I believe you can add kind of your own thing in. So I could, will it let me upload like my own image? If I click delete here, yeah. So you could get a different GIF if you wanted to. You could just do an icon, whatever, it's up to you. So I like the way that they kind of pre-populated that though. Again, but looking at the scaling, you can definitely see how this is sort of positioned at mobile devices. Because if I scroll down to mobile and then I go next, you can see it will sort of align it at the top, and it kind of squishes things down really nicely. And I'm guessing that it's aligned it to the top as opposed to centrally like all the other elements, because of the fact you could end up with like lots of different options here. Obviously, I've not populated this properly. Okay, so first impressions. It's okay. It is very basic. Probably one of the simplest authoring tools that I have ever used. From a usability, when I come to rate this at the end of the video, from a usability perspective, it's got to be like 5 stars. Like, it is the easiest thing to get into and to edit and to pick up. The interface is really simple. The buttons are really clear. Like, I have never used this before, and as I'm recording this is literally the first time I've ever used this, and I've not really had any problem kind of figuring things out after maybe 1 or 2 clicks. I've not had to YouTube anything, go to a tutorial. As I've said in previous videos, I am not a instructions person, so the fact that I can pick this up without looking at anything is pretty good. We've also got here our option on insights. So this is where you see if anybody has actually completed the course, and SCORM usage as well. And you can see from like various different time periods as well. You can share it. So you get an embed code if you're working on a website or you want to embed it straight into your site. That's a great one to have. We've got export for SCORM, and you can copy the link as well. And you can also invite people. So you can invite people, but also change the permissions as well. So that's a nice one. Anybody with an email address, because that'd be great in terms of being able to track people. And only people invited, only people with an approved domain. So that could be the people who are on, for example, your company email address. So if you only wanted people within your organization to be able to do this, they would have to have your company domain essentially, and no one, which disables the course. So although this is marketed as an e-learning tool, I actually think this would be way better suited as a mobile first marketing platform. I think this would be really good to push content through to people, with things like updates, with any kind of news, any new policies, that kind of thing, because you can share it via like Slack and things like that, and via a link, so like people could access it on their phone and whatever. I think it would be a really good way of almost acting like a bit of a newsletter, because I just don't think there's enough interactivity and enough options to customize this and build out kind of activities, I suppose, that I could see somebody using this as their dominant authoring tool. It would be great maybe for like a 5-minute course. So if I jump back in a second, if you were having a very, very fast, I think the kind of corporate term is like a knowledge shot, then this could work quite well, I suppose. You could have an introduction, you could have a few key points with an accordion, you could have a few questions with the flashcards, and then maybe end with a couple of multiple choice questions. But I think anything longer than 10 minutes using this authoring tool, it's going to feel very, very repetitive because you are so limited on your interactivity and your functionality as well. It's not just interactivity in terms of like multiple choice questions or things that the learner actually kind of activity based things, I suppose. It's just in general, your options to vary things like layout is very, very limited. So from a kind of visual perspective and from a kind of cognitive perspective, your brain's going to start to shut off when you're kind of seeing the same screen over and over again, or you're going, oh look, another accordion, okay, another flashcard. Like it's almost too repetitive. Like there needs to be consistency, absolutely, but there's a line. So this, I don't think, definitely not suited to courses that are any longer than 10 minutes. And to be honest, I think even 10 minutes is pushing it. This is a sort of very micro learning bite size platform that I feel is for mobile, and mobile only. I even think something like this could be great for new starters. You could create like a very, very short 5-minute intro to the company that you send to them on their first day, and then they open it and they can learn about their kind of key contacts or something. They get access to like the emails, and obviously you can hyperlink all of this as well, so that they can then branch off to other things and download things, and that I think it would work really well in that aspect. So I'm going to go away and gather a resource, and then I'm going to try out this AI prompt and we will walk through that together. Okay, so we are on the Transform a Document tool here, and I've uploaded this fact sheet that I did for an e-learning, and it's got various coaching and mentoring facts on it. So I would like, so it's asking you to insert a description as to how you would like it to translate the information. And I think this bit is very key in terms of how well this AI functionality works. This to be a 5-minute course that challenges the learner's understanding of coaching and mentoring. It should start with a brief introduction regarding what each one is, then challenge them with multiple choice questions and a very short scenario. Let's see how this goes. Don't have super high hopes because, again, it is like very kind of, it's not the best document either, so I will take full responsibility for that. Okay, so let's gather some information about your audience. How familiar are they with this topic? Let's go, it's their first time learning about this. If you had to choose one phrase to categorize individuals new to management, it's interesting. This is quite a good question so far. Documents in English, yes, use English. Again, that's a really good question. What tone would you like? Let's go informal and conversational. What are your expectations? Oh, probably 5 to 10 screens. Would you like to incorporate them? No, thanks. Does it have images? I don't even know it did. You're at the final step. It's time to generate your course outline. Generate your course outline. Okay, this is okay. So good questions actually. Um these were useful, and I like the fact it added about things like skill level and language as well. That's interesting. Okay, so it's given me 7 kind of topics and or 7 screens, I believe. So let's have a look at what we've got. I am super interested in this in terms of like how it translates the content, and also the content itself, because it always makes me a bit nervy as to where it's getting some of this from, because obviously I haven't written this myself. That fact sheet that I uploaded was literally like a sort of comparison sheet, I suppose. It didn't have like quizzes or scenarios or anything in it. So it starts us off with a nice text and image, quite a nice slide actually. And this is what I asked it to do, so that's great. I wanted an introduction. I like the tone of voice it's given there. The hey there, probably wouldn't go for that myself, but again, this is just it's an outline, like it sort of presents itself as. This isn't supposed to be something you then upload and Bob's your uncle. You are supposed to edit these, so obviously I could go in and change the text. But this is where we start to see some of that repetition that I was talking about. So we've got our title slide here. We've got a little introduction. We've got coaching with the accordion, mentoring with the accordion. We've then got a test your knowledge with the flashcards. And then we've got 2 scenarios. Well, 1 scenario and a little reflective exercise, and then a test your knowledge. And it's just generating a quiz by the looks of it there. So not bad. Again, like a good starting point. And I think this would be good to then help generate ideas and to kind of expand on it. And of course, this comes like unedited. You've got to go through and change the colors, put your theme on, all of that kind of stuff, which is absolutely fine. But yeah, I don't know. I would say this isn't e-learning. This is like content, I suppose. It's I don't know. I still have such mixed feelings about these tools. I think, as with anything, they're a fantastic starting point and they're great to get, just to kind of get you going if you're really struggling with just getting things off the ground or just getting your ideas out there on paper, well, on a screen in this sense. But I think if I was presented with this as it is, and a lot of people think that these AI tools are, it just does it for you and then you can just upload this to your LMS or send it out. I would not want to complete this. Like, it is very, very kind of plain looking, I suppose. And it looks very text heavy. I mean, you look at that and you think, God, that is a lot of text there. Like, there's no formatting to the text. Yeah, you wouldn't read that. So what would be nice actually instead would this to be a more of a process block. So like part 1, part 2, part 3. But again, that should be on me as the ID to then go and edit this and change it and whatever. So interesting. It's one of the better outcomes actually I've seen, to be honest. I've used a couple of the AI functionality when testing these authoring tools, and actually, this is one of the better outcomes. Definitely, I think with some more functionality, this could be better, just so that you're avoiding a kind of repetitive feel to it. So yeah, interesting is the outcome from that. So what I missed when I was doing the theming is you do actually get this drop down option for presets, and this is like preset themes that you can use. And if I click on them, you can see they do give you some kind of like different options in terms of that initial pattern on the front. So you've got like berry that gives you like a kind of circular shape. We've got the same kind of there in a purple. We've got maple, which gives you that kind of leaf shape, pine, and then the default as well. So I just wish they gave you like the option to add something similar to the other screens and not just the title and the kind of end screen, I suppose. And it doesn't give you, like, obviously I can go in now and I could change the color of this myself. So if I wanted this shape, but I wanted it in blue, it would do that for me. So you've got customization from that aspect, I suppose. But it would be really nice to be able to kind of add a similar style or like a couple of different pattern backgrounds as well. Okay, so they have on their website, they do actually have a range of template courses that you can use as like inspiration. So I thought we'd have a look at this one because they say it's a 15-minute one. And obviously during this video, I've kind of said I don't know how you could make this like sort of longer than 5-10 minutes. So I'm interested to see how they've kind of done it. So we click start. We've got a nice text and image slide here. And although I've said about obviously there being a lot of like white space, I do think this does look as a kind of slide design really nice and simple and clean. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with kind of designing slides like this way. It's much better than over designing things. But the problem that I have, or kind of like the sort of slight negative, I suppose, is just with the kind of repetition that you kind of get with these sort of style slides. So we've got a accordion here, and you can see they've used created kind of like a really nice gradient effect there with the buttons. And then we go on to another text and image slide, and we've got a checklist here. I actually really like the animations that you get on the checklist when the little tick icon fills with color and then animates. But this is a very text heavy slide. I can kind of see why, it's all really useful things, but it's very text heavy. So we'll click through all of this, and then you can see here they've used the accordion, but used the acronyms to help explain this sort of process when it comes to CPR. And then we've got to click through all of these again. And then we've got some flashcards as well. And again, they've used that same colour scheme of the oranges and the yellows, and they go down that kind of like gradient of colour, I suppose. So let's just quickly click through all of these. And again, like I said before, I do really like the animations on the flashcards. I think they're a really good size. They go down the devices really well. In terms of that kind of functionality, I kind of have no faults, I suppose, with it. But again, this is the third accordion on this 15-minute course, and that is quite a lot in terms of like repetition of the same form of interactivity. Like this, for me, would be really nice as a labeled graphic, for example, where you'd have an image or an outline or an illustration, for example, of a person, and then you would label them based on where this kind of fits with the body. So you might have the outline or the illustration of the person with a bandage on their arm, and then you'd have the label for sprains and strains, and obviously eye injuries would add the marker over eyes and things like that. So I just think the problem is with these kind of very limited interactivity is sometimes it can squash creativity a little bit because you don't have kind of any other options. You kind of have to just use what you're given. And then it just becomes a lot of click, read, click, read, click, read, which just makes it feel a little bit repetitive. And now I have to click through all of them again to move on. We've got really nice text and image slide here with great imagery. Another one. And then a little quiz where you've got to match the label with the corresponding description. This is quite a nice little knowledge check. I like the way that it's laid out, and the fact that it's like pre-formatted for you is always super helpful as well. And of course it wants me to answer all of these before I can move on to, there we go. And we've got another little question here. I think this is kind of like a final quiz. Oh, this is quite nice. I really like this actually. Because I quite often do e-learnings where a client will request a kind of fill in the blank style activity, and in Storyline it can be quite a pain to kind of like program it in. It's a bit fiddly, and usually in other authoring tools you can do a fill in the blank, but you can only use like one option. So it's like one word, whereas this, you can add a couple in to kind of read a full sentence. So I really like that. That's a nice exercise. And I got it all wrong. What a surprise. So yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's does the job. It's not groundbreaking. I think the limited customization along with the limited interactivity just makes it quite hard to be creative, I suppose, in what you're doing. And just again, even having some imagery with some of these slides here, probably not that one because that's quite text heavy, but just some extra imagery around things like this would be quite nice. As opposed to, it just feels like a lot of click and read. And as we all know, as learning practitioners, extra clicking doesn't, guarantee more engagement. It's all forms of interactivity are not created equal. So yeah, a bit of a mixed bag with this one. Obviously, I can't really talk about it from an aspect of like sharing and hosting and all of that kind of stuff because I've not tested that. But I'll rate this based on just the authoring tool itself, and we'll go from there. So it is that time at the end of the video, as I do with all my Emma Tries videos, where we look at the authoring tool overall against 3 categories, and technically 4 because I rate it based on skill level as well. So first up is ease of use. And this has got to get like a 5-star rating. It is so easy to use. You literally could pick this up and just create something within a few minutes. Like, it is the easiest tool I think I've ever used. And I think that is because it has quite limited functionality. So there's not that much to learn, to be honest. It's really easy to change colors. It's really easy to edit the font. It's super easy to like upload your own images and add slides and all of that. It's all very clearly labeled, which I love. I love the interface. I think the actual structure of the authoring tool itself is really nice. It's so clear how to change through devices. So yeah, in terms of that, it's going to have to be 5 stars. Next, we have functionality. I think this one's going to have to be rated at a 2. It is very, very limited on functionality. You've got your very basic interactions like your accordion, flashcards, hotspot. You've got one text and image block and a couple of quiz options. So it is very, very limited on functionality. I do like that you can like change things like the icons on some of the interactive elements like the accordion. And I like the animations as well. I like the way that they've presented the interactive elements as well. I think they look really nice on the screen and they scale down aside from that hotspot activity. But as I kind of said, I've never come across a hotspot activity or a labeled graphic that actually does scale down nicely, to be honest. Yeah, the other ones though, they go down to mobile view really nicely. So from that aspect, I think that's why I've kind of put it at kind of a middle rating, I suppose, at a 2, because it's not bad functionality that they've given us. It's all useful. It's just not enough of it, I don't think. There needs to be more, I think, to be able to just vary things out a bit. And like I kind of said with that first aid e-learning, just to allow a little bit more creativity, because at the moment it's quite passive interaction. It's clicking and text is revealed. It's clicking and text is revealed. And I know as an ID, you have to be creative in terms of working with what you're given. And, as I said during the video, you could use flashcards to help create a scenario activity or something like that. But I think we're so limited on functionality here that it's almost makes it more tricky to be creative, because you have to be really kind of out there with how you're using these interactions in order to stop them being repetitive or for using the same interaction every couple of slides. And that's why I kind of really reiterate that I think this platform would be best suited for 5-minute, really, really bite-sized learning, or that kind of like that marketing tool, in it being a tool for L&D to push information out to colleagues, because you can share a link with multiple people very quickly. So it could be a great tool for L&D to send out notifications about new training, or for very quick onboarding information for a new employee, or even as a almost like a house e-learning, which sounds a bit weird, but like an e-learning that essentially has links to other e-learnings in it. So when somebody joins, and it could almost, they could have a 5-minute course that says, like, welcome to the team. Oh, and at the end, here's links to the mandatory training you now need to complete before X date or whatever. I think it could work really well as that, as like a built out e-learning that's over sort of 10 minutes. It wouldn't be a tool that I would jump to. As I said, with the ratings, there's just not enough yet. And I don't know whether that's because Coassemble is quite new. To be honest, I didn't know much about it before doing this video. And maybe this is just kind of like the beginning, and they might develop it. And I'm sure all other authoring tools have started the same in terms of having limited first and then building on it. And I think it is important to get the basics right before, adding in a ton of interactivity or functionality. I would prefer the authoring tool to work well and to scale well and to go down, be responsive and whatever, over it having 6 different text layouts and everything. But yeah, so I might come back to this one maybe in like 6 months time or something, and just see what's changed, and just see if there's anything else, or if they've added any more interactivity, and go from there. In terms of like the functionality side of being able to share the course, I do really like that. So actually, maybe I'll bump this up to a 2.5, because I think the sharing options are great. And the fact that you can embed it into your website easily, that you can share these links and still track as well, because quite often when you get a shareable link, you get no tracking options. So the fact that you can get a shareable link, but also still track engagement with the course is really good as well. So yeah, I'll bump that up to a 2.5, because that side of it I do think is really cool. So next we have customization, and I feel so mean doing this, but I think it's going to have to be a 1.5. And this is the lowest I've ever rated something for customization, but the customization options are so limited. You have very basic theming options, like obviously, as I covered in the video, like changing your font, changing your text color and your button color. And you can add images to flashcards, and you can add and upload your own imagery and everything. But the fact that you can't like really do anything with the backgrounds, and obviously you can't move the text around, which I do get to a certain extent in terms of things being a bit more restrictive with moving things around, because of the fact it's a responsive platform, and there's a lot of other authoring tools that work very similarly to ensure that it scales down devices well. So that's not necessarily a negative, it's just an observation. But with the images, you can't resize them. You can resize them in the sense you can drag them along that sort of thirds structure, but you can't change them to be deeper or narrower, or change the shape or whatever. And you can't like apply an image to a background of an interactive element either. So like if you've got flashcards, you can only use a colored background. So I couldn't upload maybe a repeat pattern background, or a gradient or something like that. I think just having a few more customization options like that would help in terms of making the slides feel less repetitive and less samey. Because otherwise you kind of run through the danger of it just being like plain coloured slide with a text box on, another plain coloured slide with a accordion, and then another one with another accordion. And it does become very repetitive very quickly. And if I haven't gone on long enough, we are finally at the last rating, and that is skill level. And of course, I think we all know what's coming. It's a beginner e-learning tool, authoring tool. I've forgotten what words are at this point. I think I've been talking for about an hour. Yeah, definitely beginner friendly. Anybody could pick this up. And I also want to kind of nod to the fact that although I maybe been slightly harsh in this rating, it is a free tool. So what they're giving us for free is actually very good. And I think you could create some decent stuff with it, especially if you're new to e-learning. It's a great way to practice using an authoring tool. A lot of other ones function very similarly. So once you've got used to this, you may be able to branch out and use other authoring tools. It's also a good way to challenge you as an instructional designer, to be able to think outside the box and use functionality in a way that it's not necessarily intended for. So if you want kind of to stretch your instructional design skills, then it's a great one to do. And because it's free, you can use it and practice with it and everything without needing to pay a subscription. So I do think it's worth mentioning that yes, I've been quite harsh, but I can't moan too much because they're allowing us to use this for free, which is amazing. So yeah. And that concludes this video. And I actually think this may have even succeeded the part one, which I thought was long enough as it was. But yeah, they're getting longer and longer. So apologies. But this is a real good batch of authoring tools for this next instalment of Emma Tries. So thank you to everybody that recommended them. I'm really enjoying these ones so far. And I will catch you in the next one.